So, completing the square. So just like I showed you guys, I'm going to show you how to do this with the area model for a little bit, and then we're going to move away from the area model. Okay, so you can solve these problems with no problem. How would I solve x squared equals 9? Square root of both sides. Good. If I take the square root of both sides, I get and x equals -3. Good. I can do the same thing with this one. Take the square root of both sides, and I get x minus 2 equals +3, and x minus 2 equals -3. X equals 5, and x equals -1. Correct? If I add 2 to both sides, why is it a positive and a negative? Because, okay, that's a good question. So this says x squared equals 9, right? If I were to put in a 3 here, 3 squared equals 9, correct? Doesn't -3 squared also equal 9? So whenever you put a square root sign over that 9, you have to consider both scenarios, positive and negative. So normally we would write like a plus or minus in front of it. As soon as you put the square root, just put a plus or minus in front of it. Same thing with this one, plus or minus. And this is the reason why right here. Because that x squared, we have no idea if that x is positive or negative because it's being squared. Does that make sense? Okay. You actually already know how to solve this one too. Evan? All right, so I'm going to show you a couple different ways. Traditionally, we've done this. Where this is x squared, and this is 4, and what goes here? It adds up to the middle. Everybody agree that this looks the same as this? Yeah. Equals 9. If I were to take out the greatest common factor, wouldn't that be x times x is x squared, and x minus 2 and x minus 2? So this is actually x minus 2 squared equals 9, which is exactly what we have here. Right? Let me show you my area model that we talked about just a minute ago. Can't I split -4x up in half? 2 of them on that side, 2 of them on that side. Then how many go here? 4, that matches, right? Then don't I have x minus 2, x minus 2, which is also x minus 2 squared equals 9. So all 3 of these are the same thing. All right, let's use that. Questions so far? Okay. Let me draw a box. Let's split up my 2 x's. 1 x goes on this side, 1 x goes on this side. What goes here? Really? Only 1 fits there. If I complete that square, how many is going to fit there? So C equals 1. What would my perfect square trinomial look like? X plus 1 squared, where I've got an x times x, a 1, and a 1. We do another one. X squared, how would I split that up? 2 x's on this side, 2 x's on this side. To complete the square, I need 4. C equals 4. What's my perfect square trinomial? You seeing it? Okay, try another one. X squared, how many x's go on this side? And how many x's go here? So how many am I going to need to complete the square? And what's my perfect square trinomial? Okay. Question, yes.
How do you know when the any bars are positive or negative?
Isn't it always going to be positive?
No, the word vector, that's it.
It'll always be positive. Watch.
Because we're not doing the
Try that one.
so I keep saying,
Try that one and tell me what happens. It's a good question. Tell me what happens. Fine. Let's split this one up. I'm going to do less splitting this time. X squared, if I split up, how many would I have on this side? Negative 6x. And how many would I have on this side? And how many would I have to add to complete my square? Yes, we're getting there. Yes, you guys. Their whole meaning behind conceptual is not to make you draw a bunch of stuff. It's so that you can visualize things. Are you visualizing it now? Can you tell me what that is? 25. Can you visualize that? What's that one? 100. Evan. I can't hear Evan's question, guys. Evan.
I've noticed that if you divide both x by 2 and you square that, you get the
The pattern for C is divide by 2 and square.
Oh, I didn't see that number.
So, traditionally, I need you guys to listen, traditionally completing the square, they gave you a formula that looked like this. Now you know what that means. You are taking this middle value, splitting it in half, right? Splitting it in half and squaring it. C equals 25. Splitting that middle number in half and squaring it. Okay? All right. Get whiteboards out. Do this one. This is what I need to see. Write it down. If I split that in half, what's my perfect square look like? X plus 4 squared, and what does C equal? That's what I want to see. Show me the next one. Okay, so, most of you got this. What's my perfect square? And in order to make it a perfect square, C must equal 1. Do another one. Alright, so this one, what's my perfect square? X plus 2 squared. What does C have to be in order for it to be a perfect square? 4. Last one on this side. Do that one. 1. Okay, so my perfect square in that one was x minus 7 squared, so C must be 49. Alright, so what about this? How would I solve that one? Good. Alright, so guys, it's my turn. So if I take the square root of both sides, remembering that I have a plus or minus in front of here when I do that, then I would get x plus 3 equals positive 3, and x plus 3 equals negative 3. When I subtract 3 from both sides, I get 0 and negative 6. Try this one. 1. So if I take the square root of both sides on this one, I get x minus 1 equals 0. Could I say x minus 1 equals negative 0? It wouldn't make any sense. So it's just x equals 1. Try. Guys, we can't do this. When I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that means that we need to stop talking. Okay? So go ahead and try it. All right, let's look at this one together. So I'm seeing a lot of the same mistakes. So if I take the square root of both sides, I have to consider plus and minus. I get x minus 6 equals the square root of 8, and x minus 6 equals the negative square root of 8. When I add 6 to both sides, I get 6 plus 2 root 2 and 6 minus 2 root 2. That would be the exact answer. Once you put 2 root 2 into a calculator, that's when it becomes rounding. Yes.
Why is it not negative 8?
Because these two answers are the positive square root of 8 and the negative square root of 8. Right? Okay, let's move on, guys. So what do I do with this? What is this?
Oh, that's a,
That is a perfect square. You should see it. Do you see it? You see it? Then I would take the square root of both sides, and I would get x plus 2 equals positive 1, and x plus 2 equals negative 1. Why is there so much talking? So x equals 1 and x equals negative 3. Evan, you spend more time with your hand up rather than paying attention. But I want you to pay attention, okay? I want your questions for sure, but I want you to pay attention. Okay, so what's your question? What's your question? Well, no, but you guys, what are you doing with your hands up in the air? You're thinking about your question. You're thinking about your question. You're thinking about your question. Are you listening to anything that I'm saying? Evan? Are you listening to, but I'm just asking you though. Are you listening to what I'm saying when your hand's in the air? All you really need, this is true. All you need to do is put your hand up, let me see it, put your hand down, and then you're going to be concentrating on me because you're not thinking about what you're going to ask me. I swear, hand goes up, mine shuts down. Okay? All right, so what was your question?
square root of 1 either?
No. The square root of negative 1 is I. Because isn't 1 squared 1 and 1 cubed 1? Janelle, stop. Janelle, do you want to move to third period? No. I'm just joking. Because that's something my third period class. Okay, guys, try this one on your own. Okay, so let's look at this one. You should be able to visualize the perfect square of x minus 5 squared. You should be able to see it now, right? Equals 3. If I take the square root of both sides, this is going to be a plus or minus, I get x minus 5 equals the square root of 3, and x minus 5 equals the negative square root of 3. When I add 5 to both sides, I get x equals 5 plus root 3, and x equals 5 minus root 3. Okay, questions? Yeah? All right, let's move on. What do I do with that? Is that a perfect square?
No.
Now we're getting to what we're going to do today. Check this out. If I move 7 to the other side, I now have a situation that I can create a perfect square. And now you already know how to do this. What is C? What goes in here?
9.
And I can add 9 as long as I add 9 to the other side. So what's my perfect square trinomial? X plus 3 squared equals 16. I can solve for that. Take the square of both sides, and I get x plus 3 equals plus or minus 4. Right? Or x plus 3 equals 4, x plus 3 equals negative 4, But now that I've taught you everything, normally this is where you start this lesson. But now that I've taught you what it means and what it looks like, you should be able to do these in your sleep, right?
Right.
I don't know about sleep, but
But you can visualize it and understand it now, right? How to get what? All right, you guys try this one.
I got it.
Okay, so this is not a perfect square, so I'm going to manipulate it so I can make it a perfect square. When I move the 4 over here, it becomes positive 4, and I leave my blanks there so I remember that I've got to add something to both sides. So in order to make this a perfect square, what would I have to add to both sides? And now I have x minus 1 squared equals 5. Take the square root of both sides, and I get x minus 1 equals the square root of 5, and x minus 1 equals the negative square root of 5. And some of you are writing it like this, which is okay to do as well. 1 plus or minus root 5. Let you guys write that down. 3, 2, 1. All right, guys. So watch me do it, then you can write down this example, and then we're going to do one more, and then I'm going to give you your homework. All right, so my first step is move C over to the other side. And I'm going to put those blanks in there so I remember I've got to put something there. First step, move the constant to the right side. Second step is find that number that makes it a perfect square. So some of you have realized that you're just splitting B in half and squaring it. So I'm just splitting 4 in half and squaring it. So that's this step here. Find C. Now I'm going to add C to both sides. So I have x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 5 plus 4. Now I'm going to put it into that square formula, right? I'm factoring it. I know I have a perfect square trinomial here, so I'm going to factor and combine like terms. Factor and combine like terms. Next, I would take the square root of both sides, correct? Doing the same thing I did before, guys, I'm just doing it more formally. Now plus or minus the square root of 9. Take the square root of both sides, and now finally I just have to solve. X minus 2 equals positive 3, and x minus 2 equals negative 3. X equals 1, and x equals negative 1. Uh-oh.
Isn't it 5?
I choose 5, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Why did that one move? I don't understand. Huh. That's a little bit better. There we go. And this one should be 5. And negative 1. Questions on this? Okay, one more that's a little bit harder. Try this one. Okay, so I'm not done yet. So I need to move that 14, correct? So I'm going to have x squared plus 10x plus something to complete it equals 15 minus 14 plus something to complete it.
I put 1.
Right? So now I have b over 2 squared You don't need to do it like this if you can see it, right? 10 over 2 squared equals 25. So I'm going to add 25 to both sides to make my perfect square trinomial. 15 minus 14 is 1 plus 25. Now my perfect square is x plus 5 squared equals 26. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Equals the plus or minus of the square root of 26. Now I have x plus 5 equals the square root of 26, and x plus 5 equals the negative square root of 26. So x equals negative 5 plus 20, square root is 26, and x equals negative 5 minus the square root of 26. Any questions?
I don't get it.
Because you had to subtract 5 from both sides on both of them, right?
Oh, you make the square root negative.
Janelle, you caught it now, right? Okay, good. Yes, please talk it out. Guys, I need your attention, please. So what did you learn today?
A lot.
We learned how to,
How to, add the line.
Guys, I'm recording. You guys are not being good students. What did you learn today? Not what did we do, what did you learn? How to complete a square. Why would you complete a square? You complete a square, guys. It would be easy to complete a square if you couldn't factor something, right? The person next to you is absent. How would you explain the steps to completing a square? Get rid of C if it's not a perfect square. Make it a perfect square. Then take the square root of both sides, right? Alright, guys. I'm just going to keep you after. I forgot about that. You guys are my last class. So for every time that I have to say, you guys, please stop talking, I think I should just take a minute from after the bell rings. Oh, that works. Okay. What are the different types of strategies to solve this quadratic equation? I could use the quadratic formula. What else? I could factor. Isn't this simply... If you didn't see that, you could move 5 over and complete the square. It would give you the same answer, no matter what you do. And what would be the final thing? So I could factor. I could complete the square. It's a T. Complete the square. Quadratic formula. And graphing. Good. Good job, guys. You have your homework.